more Trump aides set to testify before the January 6th committee during Thursday night's primetime hearing. Among them is former Deputy White House Press Secretary Sarah Matthews and National Security Council member Matthew Pottinger. Both Matthews and Pottinger resigned on January 6th immediately in the aftermath of the Capitol riot. Matthews recently weighed in on the controversial testimony by Cassidy Hutchinson, defending her and tweeting, quote, "Anyone downplaying Cassidy Hutchinson's role or her access in the West Wing either doesn't understand how the Trump White House worked or is attempting to discredit her because they are scared of how damning this testimony is." Meanwhile, notably absent from the hearing will be testimony from former President Trump. When asked about whether Trump should get a chance to defend himself, January 6th committee member Adam Kinzinger had this to say.
Donald Trump has made it clear that he doesn't mind not telling the truth. Let's just put that mildly. He lies all the time. I wouldn't put it past him to even lie under oath. So I'm not sure what the value is there.
Kinzinger went on to say he would rather hear from former Vice President Mike Pence. Professor Alan Dershowitz, author of the new book called The Price of Principle, Why Integrity is Worth the Consequences. He joins me. Alan, first of all, Adam Kinzinger doesn't even pretend to have an open mind on this as he hears the other evidence. He says that a witness, would the witness be called, would lie.
Well, that means that anybody who's ever indicted for perjury wouldn't be able to take the witness stand and have the jury assess whether or not they were telling the truth. Witnesses have to be presumed to be telling the truth under oath, and if they're not, they can be indicted for perjury. It's just so typical of this committee. It does not want the public to hear the other side. That's why it didn't permit any cross-examination, any confrontation, any due process, anything resembling fairness. And I just don't remember any committee ever like this. And I've been watching committees now for 65 years. I've never seen anything like it. And I'm on their side generally. That is, I want to see the truth come out about January 6th. I didn't like what happened on January 6th. I didn't like the president's speech, although it was constitutionally protected. I didn't like the riots, but I want to hear the truth, and the truth only comes out when both sides are presented.
I guess that's why the title of the book, Price of Principle, Why Integrity is Worth the Consequences, because you're certainly taking the consequences for your views on this whole thing. But as let me go back to it. Look, President Trump he's unpredictable. I doubt very much he'd ever volunteer to testify. If any lawyer who recommended it would be, nuts. I mean, pretty much for anyone who is obviously a target of it. But does President Trump, do you see any possibility he would ever testify, or any reason that he would?
Well, he can be subpoenaed and he can invoke privileges, but there are issues about which he can be asked, probably that aren't covered specifically by privileges. I don't think he wants to be seen as somebody who's hiding behind privileges. So if I were in an adversarial situation and wanting to attack President Trump's credibility, I would call him as a witness and let him testify. Now, the public may support him, but obviously it would give the Justice Department a basis for looking into the testimony. So I don't know why they aren't calling him. He, I think, would be able to testify about certain things without waiving privilege, but we probably won't hear him because probably neither side wants to hear him. The Democrats don't want to hear him because they don't want his version to be presented. And probably he doesn't want to testify because he doesn't want to be investigated.
I want transparency. I want all the depositions out there, all the video. I don't like the pick and choose aspect of it. That's what I don't like, because I don't feel like I'm ever going to get the right picture unless I get to see everything rather than the pick and choose type stuff. But at the end, what happens when this is over? I know what happens in a trial. You get a guilty, not guilty, or you get a judgment, not guilty. What's the end of this? Well,
what the end of it is a report that nobody is going to believe. I mean, even 60 years later, Woody Allen talks about the nonfiction version of the Warren report. The Warren report in the end did not have a lot of credibility because people felt that it had to come to the conclusion it came to. A report is only worth the credibility it has, and this one will be worthless. The 9/11 Commission report was extremely valuable because they heard every aspect of it, allowed cross-examination, had people on it from every possible political perspective and no political perspectives. Look, the perfect thing would have been here to have a 9/11 type commission composed of scientists, educators, some members of Congress who would be only looking for the truth and not partisan advantage. We don't have that today in Washington. Principle has been subordinated to partisanship, which is why I wrote my book on the price of principle. You're right. I have been punished severely. I can't speak at the library in Martha's Vineyard. I can't speak in the synagogue in Martha's Vineyard. I can't speak in the community center. I have been silenced by people who don't want to hear my perspective because I defended the Constitution on behalf of President Trump. That's today's America.
I have to plug one other thing, and I'll take the last one. It's been almost 60 years, and we still don't have the Kennedy assassination, which you mentioned, the Warren Report. That has not been completely declassified. And for the life of me, I can't figure out what the national security reason is. But even, I mean, President Trump wouldn't release everything. This president won't. Nobody will. It's a big secret from the American people. I don't know what's there. But anyway, Professor Dershowitz, I did take the last word on that. Thank you, sir.